only a quarter of Americans felt personally helped by President Donald Trump's policies, according to a significant AP-NORC poll. This contrasts sharply with nearly half of Americans, or 49%, who believed his policies had a negative impact on them. The poll's findings highlight a substantial disconnect between policy implementation and the public's perception of personal benefit. Public sentiment on Trump's policies. The data suggests that despite various economic indicators often cited during the Trump administration, a large segment of the population didn't experience tangible improvements in their individual circumstances. This sentiment could stem from diverse factors, including the impacts of trade disputes, changes in healthcare legislation, or shifts in immigration policies. For instance, while some might have benefited from tax cuts, the poll indicates these advantages weren't broadly felt or significant enough to register as personal gains for most people. Conversely, the 49% who felt harmed might have faced challenges such as job insecurity due to shifts in manufacturing, rising healthcare costs, or increased anxieties from social and political divisions. This poll underscores the complex challenge for any leader in ensuring that broad policy initiatives translate into widespread, positive personal experiences for citizens. Understanding this gap between policy intent and public perception is crucial for analyzing the effectiveness and reach of governmental actions. Key takeaways. Limited perceived benefit. Only 25% of Americans reported feeling personally helped by Trump's policies. Significant perceived harm. Nearly half, 49%, believed his policies caused them more harm than good. Diverse impacts. The poll reflects varying experiences with policies related to the economy, healthcare, and social issues. Policy perception gap. A notable divide exists between the intended outcomes of policies and how they were experienced by the general public. The circumstance reflected in the AP-NORC poll that only 25% of Americans felt personally helped by Trump's policies, while 49% felt harmed, is rooted in a complex interplay of economic realities, policy specifics, and public perception. Economic circumstances. While the Trump administration oversaw a period of low unemployment and GDP growth, these macroeconomic indicators didn't translate into widespread personal benefit for everyone. For many, wage stagnation persisted, or the gains were unevenly distributed. For example, the 2017 tax cuts primarily favored corporations and high-income earners, leading to a perception among some that their own financial situations didn't significantly improve. Furthermore, the administration's trade policies, particularly tariffs on goods from China, led to increased costs for some businesses and consumers and created uncertainty in global supply chains. Some sectors experienced job losses or reduced profits as a direct result. Policy and public perception. The reasons for the widespread feeling of harm are often tied to specific policy changes and their perceived impact. In healthcare, attempts to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act, ACA, created apprehension about losing coverage or facing higher costs, even if those changes didn't fully materialize. Immigration policies, including increased enforcement and family separations at the border, generated significant public outcry and were seen by many as detrimental. Beyond economic and social policies, the political rhetoric and divisive nature of the discourse during the Trump presidency also played a role. A significant portion of the population felt alienated or negatively impacted by what they perceived as attacks on democratic institutions, social norms, or specific demographic groups. This emotional and psychological impact, though harder to quantify, contributed to the overall feeling of harm experienced by nearly half of Americans, even if their direct economic circumstances didn't drastically worsen. The poll's findings highlight that personal well-being is not solely defined by economic indicators, but also by broader societal and political environments. The AP-NORC poll, showing only 25% of Americans felt helped by Donald Trump's policies while 49% felt harmed, carries significant consequences for his political standing and future aspirations. Electoral implications. Such a stark public opinion on policy effectiveness directly impacts electoral viability. A politician who fails to convince a majority that their actions have improved lives faces an uphill battle for re-election or future campaigns. The high percentage of those feeling harmed indicates a strong motivation for opposition voters, while the limited perceived benefit suggests a lack of enthusiasm, even among some potential supporters. This sentiment can translate into lower voter turnout among those who feel unaffected or actively push undecided voters towards alternative candidates. In closely contested elections, even a small shift in voter sentiment based on policy impact can be decisive, eroding political capital. Beyond immediate election cycles, these poll numbers erode Trump's overall political capital. His ability to rally broad support for future initiatives, influence policy debates, or even maintain significant sway within his own party can be diminished if a majority of the public consistently views his past policies as detrimental. The narrative of America First and economic prosperity, central to his political identity, becomes harder to sustain when a large segment of the population doesn't feel its positive effects. Legacy and historical perception. In the long run, the poll contributes to the historical perception of Trump's presidency. If a substantial portion of Americans continue to believe his policies were more harmful than helpful, it shapes how his time in office will be remembered and taught. This can affect his influence on future political movements and the longevity of his political ideology. The numbers suggest that, while he maintains a loyal base, his policies failed to create a broad, positive impact across the American electorate, a critical factor in determining a president's lasting legacy. The AP-NORC poll's findings on public perception of Trump's policies could significantly influence his future political trajectory, particularly if he considers another presidential run. Presidential candidacy and election outcomes. If Donald Trump seeks the presidency again, these poll numbers present a formidable hurdle. A candidate with a net negative rating on policy impact, where nearly half of the populace feels harmed and only a quarter feels helped, faces an inherent disadvantage. Campaigns thrive on demonstrating positive change and a clear vision for the future. When a significant portion of voters already perceives past policies as detrimental, it becomes exceptionally difficult to convince them of future benefits. This widespread negative sentiment could motivate opposition voter turnout and potentially depress enthusiasm among crucial swing voters who might otherwise be persuadable. Impact on Republican Party dynamics. Within the Republican Party, these numbers could also have consequences. While Trump retains a loyal base, a broader perception of his policies not benefiting the average American could lead to internal debates about the party's direction and electability. Other potential Republican candidates might leverage these poll results to argue for a different approach or to position themselves as more broadly appealing. The party might face pressure to articulate a policy platform that addresses the concerns of the 49% who felt harmed, potentially moving away from some of the more controversial aspects of Trump's past agenda. Shaping public discourse and legacy. Beyond direct electoral politics, the poll will continue to shape the public discourse around Trump's legacy. It reinforces a narrative that, despite some economic gains, his administration's policies did not deliver tangible personal improvements for a majority of Americans. This perception can influence how historians, media, and the public at large evaluate his presidency for decades to come, affecting his long-term influence on political thought and policy direction.